Welcome to The Practical Intuitive, where each Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern, where host Robin Fritz explores mind, body, and spirit for the real world. Because we are all intuitives and healers, and we must all learn to love ourselves and live that love every day. Robin is a trained and certified intuitive and spiritual consultant and hypnotherapist with an international practice based in Seattle, Washington. As the Practical Intuitive, she covers personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice. It's all here. Readings, healings, and funny, warm, thought-provoking conversations. It's Robin Fritz, the Practical Intuitive, helping you mastermind body and spirit for the real world. No ifs, ands, buts, or BS ever.
Welcome to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we're live on a beautiful fall afternoon in Seattle, Washington. So yes, I do intuition and spiritual consulting, looking at intuitive issues, animals, our dead, our spaces, past life, between life regression, spiritual journeys, soul awakenings. It's all there because my work is helping you tap your natural, intuitive, and healing abilities. We are all intuitives and healers. We just need to learn how to tap basically our birthright. So thank you for joining me today. I am thrilled to be here to host a show on such a wonderful network as OMTimes. And today we're actually going to talk about what happens when we die. So sit back, put your thinking cap on, but put your loving heart in play here because I have some really interesting things to talk to you about the afterlife and what I've learned about it. But also, you are welcome to call in with questions, with comments, or to get a quick mini reading. And just call 202-570-7057. Or if you're shy, please email me at my website, Robin Fritz. That would be ROBYNFRITZ.com. So Robin at robinfritz.com. And some people do connect with me on Facebook, the Messenger app, which I don't always get those messages. So if you don't hear back from me within 24 hours, find another way to let me know that you're there because I missed it somehow. So again, thank you for joining me today. We are going to talk about what happens in the afterlife, and we're going to start, as always, with a quick guided meditation with the crystal Fallon, a citrine Lemurian quartz. Now, Fallon is an ancient power crystal. I know all crystals are ancient, except for those we create in the lab. But Fallon is particularly powerful, a healer and a truth bringer. And as you connect with his essence today, however your intuition works best, seeing, hearing, feeling, or simply knowing, think about anyone that you have lost, or if you're lucky and haven't lost a beloved human or animal yet in this lifetime, just reflect for a moment on your ancestors and connect with their energy in the afterlife. So as you do that, take your attention to the top of your head and just imagine that you're connecting mind, body, and spirit more tightly together. And just take a deep breath there in your chair, or if you're walking, just not driving. And just imagine that you're settling deeper, you're getting more grounded and balanced. And just imagine a line of energy running from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And as it runs down your body, it's just clearing out the aggravations and the busyness of the day and getting you ready to spend this hour with us. Starting at the top of your head, breathe down your face, your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your hips, your knees, and your feet. The top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And as you do that, just feel your body relaxing, cares washing away, And now imagine that Fallon, who is in the shape of a crystal ball, is rotating at your feet, and there's a gold light coming from that. And as that light moves up outside your body, just imagine it filling your body with gold healing light and helping you connect more closely to your dead or to your ancestors, moving up from your feet, past your knees, your hips, your solar plexus, your chest, your heart chakra, your shoulders, your throat, your communication chakra, your third eye, and the top of your head, which is your crown chakra. Most often, people connecting with Fallon will feel their crown chakra, the top of their head wide open. It might give them a lightheaded feeling. At the end of the show, we'll ground you back down. But just so that you're aware and connected with us today. So again, thank you for joining me. And this week and next week, we're talking about the afterlife. It's October and people tend to get excited about Halloween and then what the Catholic Church calls All Saints Day, November 1st, and then November 2nd, the Day of the Dead in some cultures, but All Souls Day in the Christian calendar. I grew up in that tradition, and it just seems really appropriate for the events that happened in my life to talk about my work as a medium and, what I discovered and what it means to all of us. And because my experience with the dead is pretty much like my experience with everything, it's far different than what other people are experiencing. Usually I do run across people who have similar experiences, which is good. But here's the thing. There's an awful lot going on in the world and in the universe, and more even than we see. And I'm talking about the intuitive, the spiritual realms, the healing realms. There's more than one person can get their arms around. There's just that much going on. And things that we don't even think about and that I learned from my animals, like being the ambassador to dragons coming back in the world, things that just make me go, oh my gosh, like the world is just really very different. And so these are my experiences, and you're welcome to, say, okay, listen to them, see how they resonate with you, see how that now that you're cleared out and ready for the show that you can see what it means to you and how you think about it, because we are all individuals and we all have our own path to walk, and each of us has a tap on what's true and right. And coming together and talking about these things is how we make our contribution to the world around us, how we grow in knowledge, and how everybody with different skill sets and different experiences come together and we realize, how much more there is out there and how much more we have to learn, which is humbling and exciting at the same time. So let me tell you about my work as a medium. And I actually did not ever want to be a medium. It never occurred to me. When I first started tapping my intuition, I had an active animal family, and I was really only interested in animal communication. But then, my spirit guides came in, and I didn't even know what that was. I mean, when somebody talks to anybody about something they have no experience with, I can guarantee it goes pretty much like mine. It was just so foreign to me. I felt like I was standing on my head trying to breathe underwater. It just completely floored me. I had no idea, no experience to relate to that outside of my Catholic upbringing and the concept of like guardian angels, for example. So the more we blow each other's minds, the more we learn, right? So as a medium, I work with my dad, Ray Fritz, and my dad died on June 30th, 1994. So, as you know, when you lose family members, when you lose anyone, you go, oh, that's it, never going to see them again, not till you get to the other side, right? So I was not prepared for my dad to suddenly show up about 10 years later. I had been working with someone who was an intuitive and a healer, and I, was handicapped. I have been for many years, but newly handicapped. in those years, and really trying to find my way back to wellness, trying to find the ground beneath my feet, and I was not expecting to talk with my dad. But here's the thing, when people say your dead are looking out for you or just paying attention to what you're doing, it's true, they do some of the time. I mean, there's so much going on in the afterlife that you really don't want them hanging around with you all the time, because there's just so much more that they can experience, and they have their own path to walk in the afterlife, just as we have our own path to walk without them. But my dad had been watching my healing progress, and he was talking to his guides and was like, I want to talk with her. And he managed to get through to the person I was working with, who called me and said, I've been hearing this voice for a while, and it's your dad, and he wants to talk with you. So this is kind of how it would go if you were working with a medium, or if you do your own ritual to connect with your dead, which I explored in my webinar that you can find at the Learn It Live platform, the experts.omtimes.com/RobinFritz, Resolving Grief and Connecting with Your Dead. It's in that webinar, and it's also in my upcoming book, Getting to the After Party, what really happens when we die. But essentially, one of the things your dead come back to do is, to talk to you. And they don't always do their life review right away. My dad was doing his life review roughly 8 or 9 years after he died, which is, maybe average. I have no idea. I know lots of the dead that haven't done it after what we would call 100 or 200 years. They just are resting up or avoiding it or whatever. Anyway, my dad was deep in his life review, and one of the things he was doing was looking at our multiple lifetimes together. And we'll talk about that when we come back. But if you'd like to call in with your questions or comments, 202-570-7057. Thank you.
Conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
This segment of The Practical Intuitive is brought to you by Terry Kent of AmberstonePets.com. Years ago, Terry struggled with fleas and ticks on her 4 dogs but ruled out pesticides. Then she heard about raw Baltic amber. A fossilized tree resin, raw Baltic amber has been used for years in Europe to protect cats and dogs from fleas and ticks. Terry founded AmberstonePets.com 8 years ago to offer safe, organic, and beautiful pet collars that naturally repel fleas and ticks. How? The amber's aromatic properties are released into the pet's coat and spread by body oils from friction and body heat. The collars are available in several styles for cats and dogs, from kittens and puppies to giant breeds. Visit AmberstonePets.com, choose raw Baltic amber collars for your pets, and enter OMTimes at checkout for free shipping. Order today at AmberstonePets.com.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
I'm Fidel Nsombo. I was born in a city called the Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we're live in Seattle, Washington. And I just wanted to add to Terry Kent's commercial at amberstonepets.com, because Terry's created another product specifically for the OMTimes readers. And it's going along with the notion and that what we've learned throughout history of the properties of raw Baltic amber to relieve pain and inflammation in humans, teething bracelets for babies, for example. And she's created a necklace, a bracelet, and an anklet for OMTimes listeners and their families to relieve arthritis or other pain symptoms. And in talking together, we also had her add quartz for, amplifying the power of the raw Baltic amber, but also because quartz is a good grounding and clearing stone, and some turquoise for additional grounding. And so go to her website, or my website, robinfritz.com, but go to Terry's website, amberstonepets.com. Go on her page there, and you'll see how beautiful these pieces are, great holiday gifts. And put OMTimes in the coupon section there, and you'll get free shipping. But check it out, because they're remarkably beautiful, and, using the power of raw Baltic amber to make you feel better. So back to the show, we're talking about what happens when we die, what's going on in the afterlife. But I do understand we have a caller, Jamie from Texas. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Robin. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for calling. Is it Jamie? Is that right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, close then, huh? So what's up with you today? Thanks for calling.
Well, I was calling in. I saw their announcement on Intuitive Together, and it's just a topic that, it's been really hitting close to home lately, and been really thinking about, what happens when you die and death, and
right.
The fears that come with it. And I've just been dealing with that. I'm taking care of my elderly mother, so that's something that, has really hit home. So
it does. I lost my parents 10 months apart. So I know what you're thinking of, as they get older, you worry about that. So what are you thinking about in particular?
I guess my own mortality, I suppose, makes you kind of think about yourself, about your own mortality, and what happens after this life.
Right, and it's a good thing to actually think about. What I have learned in thinking about death in the afterlife. I remember years ago having this conversation with my mother, and again, I was raised Catholic, and I didn't believe in the afterlife, and I didn't believe that anything happened after death. And she goes, "Well, I feel sorry for you." And, now that I, know that the afterlife is real, and I see the amazing power of souls to continue to grow throughout lifetime, my mom was right, and those of us who don't think about what comes next, I know we're busy, and I've said the same thing. Look, I'm too busy living. I don't have time to think about dying. But in fact, it's a really important subject. And what I have learned, and is it Jamie or Jamon? Tell me how to pronounce your name properly. I'm sorry?
Jaime.
Jaime? Jaime?
Yes.
Ooh, I like that even better. Is we are eternal souls, and that is extremely comforting to me to know. And it's fascinating both in working with the dead and doing things like past life regression, When you find out all the things that your soul has done throughout time, and the different lifetimes you've led and the things that you've learned and you carry forward into different lifetimes, it's fascinating. I think there would be, so much more comfort in the world in the process of losing our loved ones, but just also in terms of getting together and creating a better world, knowing that, hey, we keep coming back and we keep having these experiences, and then we grow in the afterlife and are ready to try new experiences. I don't know if that gives you any comfort, but it sure gives me some.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you thinking? What else are you thinking about?
Just pretty much that. Just what happens, and not to be scared about it, because I know it brings out some fears for me.
About dying yourself. About dying yourself.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Well, that's natural. Go ahead.
No, finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's kind of cutting in and out on my end, and I'm trying to get everything that you're saying. That's exactly true. Next week I'm going to talk about a category of the dead a lot of mediums won't even talk about or acknowledge, and that's the dead who don't make it to the afterlife, what I call the stuck dead. And they're actually the ones that my dad asked me to help when he came back and was talking to me about, I need you to help me help the dead. And I'm like, what? But, the truth of it is, we're afraid because we don't know what it's like. And unfortunately, our religious and cultural institutions don't either. So they made up things. Mm-hmm. And when people die and they get to the other side, the biggest thing I hear from them, besides the fact that they miss their loved ones, is, where the heck am I? What is this? This isn't the afterlife like I thought. Like, oh my gosh, what happened? And that's too bad. And, that's why I'm out there talking about what I experience. And that's why the things that I see in the afterlife I've named differently. So I don't talk about heaven or hell or purgatory. I talk about the place my dad runs, the way stations for dead things on the other side, partly because I have a sense of humor and partly because I identify them the way I see. So, I think the more people that talk about what they see and experience in the afterlife, as I'm doing in my upcoming book, and, what the dead tell us, I think that's really comforting because it gives us an idea of what happens. Yeah, we die, our body goes away, but your consciousness does not. In the afterlife, you totally remember who you were and what you did in your life, and you get a chance to look it over. So I hope that helps make you feel better. And I know that, as we watch our older family members pass away, it's hard. I know my dad was ready to die 2 years before he did. But when they get right there to it, right down to the end, right there, it's like, they go like, even if they're not completely conscious, you've got this feeling that they know what's going on and what's happening, and they just need to let go, and we need to let them go. So enjoy the time you have with your mother, right? Is that what you said, your mother?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, enjoy the time you have with her and cherish her. Your relationship will change after she passes because she's doing different things and you're doing different things, but she's always going to be your mother. And that's what my dad said to me several months before he passed away. He wanted me to go to Europe, and I was ill at the time, and he was afraid that I would become so ill that I would never get to go to England, where I'd always wanted to go. And he said, go on this trip. And I said, but you're dying. And he said, I will always be your dad. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty awesome. So thanks for calling. Thanks for checking in. Do call us, as you get closer with your mom. And I'm here every Monday. Call us back and let us know how you're doing. And I'll address more of your question as the show goes on. But thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. So, our caller has a good point. We're afraid about dying and we're afraid about, what comes next. And so here's what, and I appreciate my caller and everyone else who's interested in calling in. Please try 202-570-7057. It's scary because our bodies are hardwired to survive. And so dying is not the process that our bodies are looking at. We're born, we're going to live, we're going to eat, we're going to sleep, we're going to grow, and we're going to learn things. So our bodies are hardwired to survive, and even when you're ready to die, that can be hard to let go. I watched my dad for 2 years want to die because his body was so beat up from rheumatoid arthritis and heart disease that he looked 20 years older than he actually was. But his soul and his body couldn't separate because we're hardwired not to. So, it's a process of allowing ourselves to gradually release, and I talk about that more in my book. But when my dad first showed up to talk with me through this other person, he was doing what I call the life review, and we all do that at some point in the afterlife. And he was looking at his life and looking at his relationships, and he wanted to apologize to me because I was the girl, and in a small town in Oregon when growing up, girls weren't well received. We weren't respected as humans, I guess. I still have that problem with sexism in society. But my dad wanted to apologize for not treating me the same way he'd treat a boy. He said he had been really wrestling with that issue in the afterlife. He'd been looking at our previous lifetimes together, and we'd had many lifetimes as my dad being my dad and me being his daughter, but we'd also had other lifetimes where we were both men and were raising families together in a small town. So my dad and I are clearly, soul family members. So I'll tell you more about that after the break. But if you'd like to call in, 202-570-7057. Thank you.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
31? 13?
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. He realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we're live in Seattle, Washington, and we're talking about we die and then what? And so I want to thank my wonderful caller for bringing up his concern about, what happens when we die. I'm worried about that, and we all are. So actually, that's what I want to talk about in this next segment here, because when my dad came back and he wanted to apologize, he said for not treating me as an equal, for not acknowledging that my intelligence and ambition could have an outlet as a girl just as well as a boy, And he said, if I ever had the chance to do it again, to be your dad again, I will do it better. I'll treat you as an equal. Well, little did we know that we would end up having that chance right now, still while I was still in my body, because my dad came back and asked me to help him help the dead. And that's the story I'm going to talk about next week. Because that's a whole nother subject, and it's about people who don't make it to the afterlife. And I want to preface next week by saying, do not worry about your dead not making it to the afterlife, because I'll tell you how to help them. I don't like people calling me up for sessions worrying about their dead, stuck dead. I don't even take those appointments because I don't want you to feel like you need to worry about that. It's just a reality, and it's easy enough to deal with, and I'll tell you why it happens. And we'll talk about that next week. But as I talked more and more with my dad, and I started, talking with the dead and, finding out all the things that they were doing, I thought this is a perfect opportunity for those of us who, don't know what happens, which none of us do because our religion and culture haven't told us the truth, because I don't think they knew, or they don't want us to know, or whatever. Take whatever conspiracy level interest in that you want. But I had an opportunity to ask somebody who decided to stay in the afterlife, my dad, to not reincarnate, but to stay and to help the people who have just transitioned to the afterlife. So my dad runs what I call a way station for dead things on the other side. I know that sounds funny because, gosh, you have to make some jokes about the afterlife, right? Because we need to take away the worry about it and start looking at it as, oh, this is a place I'm going to visit without a body. And also because that's the reality of the afterlife. My dad has lots of friends who run way stations, and they help me help the dead. So I'm also a cut to the chase kind of person. So I'm talking with my dad, and I said, I said, Dad, what's the number one thing you want people to know about being dead? I know, perfect opportunity, right? Where do you get to have that kind of an interview? So I said, Dad, tell us the number one thing you want us to know about being dead. All those people who are worried about dying or upset that they've lost loved ones. And my dad laughed and he said, it's a constant party. I'm like, wow, never saw that coming. And he made me laugh because my Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Murphy, she calls it a party too, and she says how much fun that the dead have together, that they play, they have games, they laugh, and even though they miss us as much as we do, they have a really good time together. So the next part of what I'm going to tell you about is literally a transcript of my conversation with my dad. So I'm laughing, yeah, it's a constant party. But then my dad got really serious, and I'm going to read, this is specifically what he said. I'm going to read the words to you. What I want people to know about being dead is that there's more, a lot more than you could ever imagine or will imagine when you're inside of a body. It's further than you could ever go, which is for obvious reasons why you need your body to stop so your spirit can continue on. I didn't know it when I was in a body, and this is the most important thing I would think for someone who is alive to know. Isn't that absolutely incredible? Have you ever heard that anywhere? Does your religion tell you that the afterlife is a party and there's so much you can experience because you're no longer in a body? You can go anywhere and do anything. And believe me, these people do. I know a family that all their dead go to Hawaii and drink Mai Tais on the beach. Now, I do a little bit more than that. But they can also travel between dimensions. They can travel to different planets. And believe me, there are different planets with all kinds of things alive on them. It's amazing what they do in the afterlife. It's so amazing, all of the things they can do. Like, they didn't get to travel in this life. They can go visit Paris or wherever they want to go. Different dimensions. They can hang out at the way stations with people like my dad. And there are different kinds of way stations for different kinds of the dead, from animals to humans to dead nuclear power plants, which is another subject itself, trees, everything. And, I started becoming aware of this with some of the dead animals I worked with. But then wow, jackpot, get to talk to my dad. So isn't that incredible that there's so much to do? And my dad didn't realize it either, because they're not telling us, they're not making it clear to us that once you let go of your body, it's a whole new ball game, people. It's, like my dad said, further than you could ever go, which is why, for obvious reasons, you need your body to stop so your spirit can go on. That is just amazing. So I hope those, and my caller, I hope you're still listening. I hope this brings you some comfort, because the afterlife is absolutely incredible. And we experience it over and over again every time we leave a body or we leave an experience and go back into the afterlife to have a new experience. So then I went on to ask my dad, okay, so how did you get this job running a way station? And I've had other intuitives who work as mediums, talk to my dad, and talk to other people that run way stations, because a lot of them show up here to explain what they do at their way stations. And a lot of them are kind of surprised that we can talk to them. So I don't think a lot of them actually work with mediums like my dad does, or, with individuals who are looking for their own family members. But I was curious because my mom has reincarnated, as I've been told, but my dad did not. He chose to help people in the afterlife. So I said, so how did you come to run a way station, Dad? And I call it a way station, as I explain in my book. Way stations are places where travelers stop off and recuperate on a trip, rest up or whatever. And that's why I call it a way station. When you make it to your proper afterlife, when you actually go into the afterlife, because there's an in-between state I call the gray zone, and I'll talk about that next week. And that's where you slough off the denser energies of your being in a body here on the planet or some other planet that you're on before you actually go to the actual afterlife. Or, just get ready to get to the afterlife, because not everybody's ready immediately to go to the real afterlife where it's completely in spirit. So I asked him, how did you come to run a way station? And his answer, and again, I'm going to read directly from my transcript here. He says, quite by accident. I didn't really want to die to go. So I hung out, and all these people were walking past, and I started asking them where they were going and who was taking them there. Some were very distressed, so I wanted to help out somehow, and I didn't know that who I was really helping or who wanted help was me. But I wanted to help them, so I followed them. And I could see it all, and other spirits, other people couldn't see. They were blind in that place. But I had binoculars on. I could see everything. And so then I asked, you could see everything what? And Dad said, all the people who were walking, where they were going, the people who were trying to help them, the people they had left on earth, and the energy of the people reaching up for them and trying to help them. So that's how it started. And I just decided I wanted to be helpful, and people obviously needed help sometimes. That's how I've begun to do that. I don't know how much longer I will do it, but I will do it. And I am excited for the moment that we are able to see each other on this plane. So I said, wow, that's pretty cool, Dad. And Dad laughed. He goes, yep. He goes, and then he goes on, there are so many, Robin, so many you wouldn't believe it. And I went like, so many what? And he said, spirits that leave. And I said, well, everybody dies. And Dad said, it's tremendous. And, I was really confused because I thought, well, of course, billions, millions, and billions of people have died throughout history and on different planets, right? So, of course, there'd be a lot of souls that leave, right? It took me months to figure out what he meant, that he was talking about the people who are stuck and don't move on. And so, but at that point, all I said was, wow, I know it's helped me, Dad, when people come to me to talk with their dead, to ask you to go get those people and animals and bring them back to talk with us. It's cool. So my dad said, yes, it makes it easier for you because you don't have to search for them. And that's really what I saw as the need. everybody was searching. The people on the planet were searching for them. They were searching for the doorway, searching for peace, for parts of themselves. And this way you don't have to search for them. I will help you. So I hope that, your mind is a little blown here and that you're realizing the afterlife is a lot more complicated than we thought. And it's also more amazing. And I was so amazed to have this conversation with my dad because I had no idea I had seen him in that job. I just didn't know what it was. And if I remember, I'll tell you that story quick because it's kind of funny. But, imagine, so my dad dies and he ends up in what I call the gray zone, which is that place where you go when you first die. It's that, kind of lightening up place. It's also the place where people will get stuck if they don't, get brave and actually move to the afterlife. But I'll talk about that next week. Talk about that a little bit more here if we have some more time. But look at what he saw. He saw people reaching up from, alive people, reaching up, looking for their dead, the dead reaching back and looking back, and nobody could connect. But my dad could see the energy lines between them. He could see the people who were reaching up, and he could see who they were reaching for and the other people reaching back. So one of the reasons he asked me to become a medium was that he could find those people. So when people come to me for sessions, I'll ask them, who do you want to talk to? Who are they and why? Because that's the same way you do it as an animal communicator. I don't want anybody coming to me who wants to test me and find out, what their favorite song was or what clothes they're wearing or what year they were born. Because if you don't know that, you're wasting your time and your money talking with a medium. You're coming to a medium because your dead have survived, that their consciousness have lived on. And this is your opportunity for two things. One, to get closure, to finally be able to say goodbye. And a lot of people need closure because a lot of people had difficult relationships with their dead or, things that they've questioned or worried about. But it's also an opportunity to find out what they're up to and to learn about the afterlife, relieve your concern about them, and also relieve some of your concern about dying, because none of us are getting out alive, right? None of us are getting out alive. It's not something that, we have experience with. And like near-death experiences, that isn't real death. It's something else entirely. So we'll be back after the break. And if you'd like to call in for a quick conversation, it's 202-570-7057.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. You're neutral to it, and you can hear it repeatedly without feeling anything. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we've achieved pulling a natural or inborn response from you. Save the food, because 40% of all food in the US never gets eaten. Save the food. Cook it, store it, share it. Just don't waste it. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz. We're live in Seattle, Washington, and we're talking about what happens when you die. So I've told you about my dad and that he runs a way station for dead things on the other side. You know, take it or leave it. It's the truth. I've talked with other way station managers from different cultures. And I was lucky to have the opportunity to do that because I started wondering, like, well, this is how I see the afterlife, but my shamanic friends do something entirely differently, and I'm like confused. And the way station manager said, no, what I was seeing was correct, and that his problem was he had a lot, he was trying to round up Asian dead, and Asian probably isn't the right thing, but at the time I was working with the dead from Japan and China, and talking about different religious belief systems that, you know, think differently than the Christian system. And it turns out, you know, you all go to the same place, people. If you're lucky, you get way station managers who understand your culture, which is great. And help you, you know, decompress in the afterlife before you go off to do your life review and decide what you're going to do next. But, you know, as I'm sitting here looking at all the material I've prepared for today and for future shows, you know, we're just going to do a lot more shows on the afterlife and what I've learned, what I've pulled together from working on my upcoming book. But also because I know this is a subject where it's time to demystify what's happening in the afterlife, what we know about the world, and not just the afterlife, what I know about crystals, what I know about space clearing. You know, that's why I'm doing my show, to show you what a normal average person like me experiences when we, you know, sit down and just be open to the experiences that can come to us if we're willing to have them. Now, a lot of people are closed-minded in a way, and they're not willing to recognize that an animal can think or talk and actually have a job to do that has nothing to do with us, cosmic jobs like all my animals have had. And so imagine getting to the afterlife and finding out that you can talk to animals and they talk to you. You know, it's a lot of fun to watch my dad at his way station, because my dad, you know, he asked me to help him and be a medium, but I don't work just with humans. I work with beings in different dimensions, and they need help getting to the afterlife too. So when my dad brings the dead back to talk with my clients, their family members, they're looking around and going like, whoa, you know, I haven't seen that before, you know, because my dad is really opened up on his end too, you know, welcoming the beings that I work with at his way station, you know, to help them find where they're supposed to go. But I want to just leave you for today with, you know, a couple of quick things about the afterlife that I think will, you know, make some of this more concrete. I know the transcript of my dad talking to me about what he does and what he sees, I know that's got to make everyone feel better, knowing that, wow, you know, we're all walking around after we die they're looking for the doorways between dimensions, which I guess I'm going to talk about next week with the stuck dead. So you go to the gray zone, you recuperate a little bit, slough off those energies, you see a doorway that appeals to you. They're different colors I discovered over time. That color is, you know, welcoming you. It's like, hello, it's a sign, like, get up and go there. And that's the doorway to a way station, and that's where you go. And it's awesome. It's totally awesome. So I want to go back to a conversation I had with a client last week, and also a story about someone who died, to give you kind of an idea of what's going on. So this wonderful client had wanted to talk with her dog, and we did. And her dog was very, very tired in the afterlife, and this dog had died earlier in the spring, and the dog was very, very tired. And he was just resting up. That's what you do at the way stations. You rest up until you're not so tired anymore. You get to visit with the way station managers. You help out grow food. You play games. You know, people come and visit. Other things come to visit, things that you don't realize could talk with you back when you were in a body. And not just dogs and cats, but trees and other things. And but she was worried later. She was worried because she felt like maybe she'd done something wrong, that, she'd always done such great things for her dog, great supplements, great physical care, great food. Why was he so tired in the afterlife? Had she done something wrong? And never ever think that, because that isn't it at all. I think there are two times in our lives where we're completely thrown, and one is when we're born, out of a water environment into an air breathing environment. That's a huge transition. And the other is when we die and we leave our bodies. And, when you do that, your accumulation of life events, they're just like, oh my gosh, I did all that. I'm really tired. So that transition is exhausting. And you may have been ill. This dog was ill for, only a really short period of time. But they're busy doing the job that they came on the planet to do, and they're running around doing that. Even if they look like they're just lying there on the floor all day, they're busy in their spiritual life, animals and humans, busy doing all those things that we came here to do, busy growing their souls. And when their bodies leave, it gives them a chance to just like, oh my gosh, I need a break. And that's what they're doing, is sleeping and relaxing and resting up. And so it's not a reflection on you that they're doing that, or on anything that they went through. It's just, that's how it is in the afterlife. There's no blame at all. It's just they're resting up. So let me tell you another quick story. Years ago, I was doing a psychic fair, and a young woman came, and she wanted to talk to someone who had been murdered, not just died, but had been murdered. And, you only have like 10 or 15 minutes at a psychic fair to, do these things. And I was like a little aghast because, oh my God, the guy was murdered. Well, my dad went and got him and brought him back. And I described him to her. I did see him clearly. I don't always see them very clearly, but I described exactly what his face looked like to her. And then I told her what he was doing in the afterlife. And what he was doing was hiking on an alien planet. Okay, this planet was completely empty of humans, for example. He was hiking in these mountains. They were snowy mountains. He was all alone, and he was hiking and hiking and hiking. Now, his spiritual team, his spirit guides were there. They were watching out for him, but they were keeping their distance. They were allowing him to just hike. And she was so grateful to hear that, because as it turned out in real life, he was a hiker. That's what he liked to do, to get out and away from people to hike. And so that was validation for her that, he was okay in the afterlife. He was recovering. The other part of it was that I didn't have the heart to tell her, because I was so shocked at seeing it, was this young man had been murdered. Literally, somebody walked up to him and killed him. And he had no idea it was coming, no time to process it. And what his spiritual team said, there was no reason for that. It isn't like, you were at war with somebody and you were expecting it or something like that. It was completely uncalled for, of course, as murder is, but it was just out of the blue for this guy. And they yanked him out of his body, before, he could really experience any pain or anything from it. So he just boom, and he was gone. But one of the reasons he was hiking was that he was trying to get past that horror of what happened. And he turned to my dad, and he had this look on his face, and he goes, why did this happen to me? And my dad put his arms around him and said, come on here, son, let me hold you, and just cry it out. So it's an example that our dead do, recuperate. I mean, he was recuperating in the way that was working for him by hiking alone on an alien planet, and there are those things. But they're also getting used to, what happened to them and how they died. And all of our dead are doing that too, getting used to the transition between life and death. So we're out of time for today. But next week we're going to talk more about the stuck dead and what that is and what that means. And it's not bad and it's not scary. It's just a reality. And so please tune in for that. But for today, I'd like to thank you for joining me And I just want a few quick upcoming announcements. Next week, as I said, we're going to talk about the stuck dead. And I have some webinars coming up in November, 2 of them. If you go to experts.omtimes.com/RobinFritz, on Tuesday, November 7th at 2, we're going to talk about the multiverse is real. You know, what else is out there besides what we see every day? That's free and it'll be fun. So bring your questions and your curiosity and your wide open mind, and we'll explore that together. And then on Thursday, November 16th at 4 Pacific time, how to use our intuition in our business events. And, you know, those are things that will help us just really tap into the practical aspects of, you know, using intuition in our daily work to help us get ahead and do the best job that we can. And there are other things coming up in December and in January too. And if you're interested, please let me know, because I'm going to do a multi-part webinar series on using our intuition and tapping our energy boundaries. But for today, let's take a deep breath and close out this day with a healing with the goddess. We'll allow ourselves to just close down those crown chakras and get grounded back into your chairs. And also, you know, spend the next week thinking about the loved ones that you've lost, human or animal, those who are getting ready to go, and how you can support them. Hands on your heart and just breathe that in. Blow into the palms of your hands, and then just put your hands back on your heart, knowing that healing energy is going into you, grounding you, balancing you, and use that technique during the week. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye.